Alright guys, here's a video on adding and subtracting rational expressions. So let's start with something like this. B minus 5 over B minus 1 plus B minus 1 over 6. Now, because we have spent so much time simplifying things, you might be tempted to cross things off like that, but that would be the wrong way of doing things. For example, if I had 6 halves plus 2 fifths, I can't just cancel those out, right? It's not going to work that way. So you can't cancel up and down if you're adding and subtracting. That's why it's different from multiplying and dividing. Instead, our process here is to get a common denominator, and our common denominator in this case is, well, we have to look at it. This denominator has a b minus 1. This denominator has a 6. So the denominators have to match before we can combine the tops of the fractions. So we're just going to make the match. This one, if we put a 6 here, and this guy, if we put a b minus 1. Once we do that, now they have the same denominators. But if I put a b minus 1 on the bottom of the fraction, I have to put a b minus 1 on the top of the fraction. And if I put a 6 on the bottom of the fraction, I have to put a 6 on the top of the fraction. So now they have a common denominator, which is 6 times b minus 1. And now we can just get this guy and put it down here. That's going to be 6 times b minus 5 plus b minus 1 times b minus 1. Now we are not done. We have to use the distributive property, get rid of these parentheses, because only when the parentheses are gone, then we can start to combine like terms and see if it simplifies any further. So using the distributive property, on the top we have 6b minus 30. Right here we have b squared, which is this guy. We have minus 1b minus 1b minus 2b plus 1. All of that over 6 parentheses b minus 1. Okay, let's simplify this even further. We've got a b squared. I'm going to write that first. We have 6b minus 2b is going to be plus 4b. And then we have negative 30 plus 1 is going to be negative 29. On the bottom we have 6b minus 1. Now I'm looking at the top one more time just to see if there's a common factor between the top and the bottom. These guys are not all divisible by 6, and I'm pretty sure they're not going to be divisible by b minus 1. I don't think this quadratic is going to factor, so this is going to end up being our final answer. Okay, here's another one, guys. Give this one a try. We have 4 over r plus 5 minus 5 over r minus 2. Go ahead and pause the video and give this one a try. Okay, we need a common denominator, so we're going to put an r plus 5 in the bottom of that. We're going to put an r plus 5 in the top of that. We're going to put an r minus 2 in the bottom of this, and an r minus 2 in the top of that. Now that gives us a common denominator of parentheses r minus 2, r plus 5. And then on the top, we're going to have r, or 4, times r minus 2. And we have a negative 5 times r plus 5. Remember that minus. The minus is going to be this whole minus 5 times both of those. Cleaning up a little bit is going to give us 4r minus 8 minus 5r minus 25. I almost put plus 25, but I caught myself. The minus 5 hits both of those things. All of that over those guys on the bottom. Let's simplify the top a little bit more. We have 4r minus 5r is just going to give us negative r. Negative 8, negative 25 is going to be negative 33. On the bottom, we have r minus 2, r plus 5. And I'm checking to see if this guy factors any further, and it doesn't. So this is as far as we get on that guy. Okay, let's do one final one here. This one looks hard, but it's actually a lot easier than you think. Okay, now remember how I told you at some point to always factor? Well, this is one of those cases where you kind of disregard my advice because you already have a common denominator. So factoring this, and you could factor it, but factoring it isn't going to help you that much because, you know, we just already have our common denominator. So we're actually good. On the top, the 3 comes to there. There. And that's it. Well, almost. 3 minus 2 is 1, so the whole thing is going to turn into 1 plus x over 27x squared minus 18x. So this is something that looks pretty painful, but it's actually super easy because we started off with our common denominator. If we didn't have the common denominator, we would try to factor those to see what they did have in common and go from there. Okay, that's it.